What a lot of older people don't understand is younger people want more control over their time. Younger people don't want to have to answer to a boss.
Let's just go ahead and listen to the mindset of Gen Z. I'm assuming he's Gen Z because I don't know exactly how old he is. Let's just listen to the mindset of how they view the workforce, all that wonderful stuff.
What's going on, y'all? It's your boy, Authentic Talk Podcast. We are back with another one. I want to continue harping on this workplace dilemma. A lot of old heads are mad that Gen Z don't want to work. I just saw a video by my boy Tech G. Shout out to Tech G. Make sure you go subscribe to him. He's an IT professional. He teaches IT. And he made a video a couple of days ago about how none of the Gen Z people that he works with want to be there. Well, actually, he said that they just weren't good workers. He said they were like socially awkward. They wouldn't talk on the job. They wouldn't communicate. They would constantly ask for help. They were just, doing the bare minimum.
That is exactly correct so far. Yes, I would classify a lot of them as socially awkward, that don't like to talk, don't want to use their brains to critically think. That's what a lot of them are based on my travels. That's what I see and what I come across.
When it comes to Gen Z, I know they get a lot.
Speaking of authentic talk, guess who's in the chat? Got you on the Summer Jam screen, bruh. So after we go through this video, I might drop the link for you if you want to come up here and share your thoughts on this.
A lot of press for being lazy, for being, socially awkward or whatever. That may or not be the case. I think what it is when it comes to the job, they're like that because they don't want to be there. Most of them just don't want to be there. And what a lot of y'all don't understand, all
right, so he says Gen Z doesn't want to be there. Well, Authentic Talk Podcast, I don't think anybody really wants to work a job if they don't have to, regardless of what generation you fall into. Like I say, I'm Gen X/millennial, born in 1980, because somebody left a comment on my last video. They said, man, how you graduate in high school in 1998 if you were born in 1984? No, I was born in 1980. So I graduated high school in 1998. But anyways, I don't think anybody really wants to work if we have the opportunity to not work. So that's not just a trait that Gen Z has that's all unique unto yourselves. My parents, they're baby boomers. If they were coming up and they had a lot of money and opportunities to not work a 9 to 5, they would have never worked a 9 to 5 either.
It's not just about the money. I think these newer generations don't care as much about money. Albeit we do want a wage to where we can, have all our bills paid, so we can have a little bit of money to trick off, have a little bit of money to be able to live comfortably. I believe everybody wants that. But what a lot of older people don't understand is younger people want more control over their time. Younger people don't want to have to answer to a boss. Younger people have more of an entrepreneurial mindset.
Everybody doesn't want to answer to a boss. Everybody wants more control over their time. You say younger people have more of an entrepreneurial mindset. I don't necessarily think that's true. I don't think they have more of a mindset to be an entrepreneur than any other group of anybody. As a matter of fact, when you just look at the overall population, the majority of people in general are not entrepreneurial minded. It's only like a small percentage of people who actually have the kahunas to go out there and try to start a business, whether it's a solo dolo LLC business, kind of like what I got, or they trying to start a full-fledged business where they got 4, 5, 10, 20 employees. That's only a small segment of the population. The majority of people don't want to be entrepreneurs. So I don't really believe what you're saying there.
See, back in the day, there's no offense to all of you old folks out there, but most of y'all like the comforts of being told what to do.
Right.
Not, thinking for yourself. And a lot of y'all just, for some reason, don't believe that you could ever get fired. You believe in this thing called job security, which is a myth. It's a complete effing myth. It just doesn't exist. It just never did, especially not now. And a lot of y'all don't mind giving up most of your time and most of your energy for a paycheck. I just think the younger generations just see the idiocy in that. They see how much of a waste of time it is. They see how much of their finite life that they're giving away to evil corp.
I think it's a matter of perspective, man. So you say that we don't mind giving up our time and being controlled. First off, I don't think anybody willingly goes to get a job just so that they can turn into a mindless drone. I don't think anybody does that. Most people go get a job because they have bills to pay, responsibilities to adhere to, people to take care of. And it's a means to an end. That's all it is at the end of the day. I don't know of anybody in my generation, the millennial generation, the baby boomer generation, that just views a job as its god of sorts. Like you go there and worship the job and worship the corporation. It's like, nah, B, this is what we have to do if we want to keep putting food in our refrigerator. This is what we have to do if we want to keep a shelter over our head so we're not outside of 7-Eleven doing the moonwalk for $1. These are just the things that we have to do if we want to survive and thrive in this great country called the United States, or wherever it is that you live at. These are the things that people have to do. It's called being an adult at the end of the day. That's how I view it, because if you don't do those things, what's the alternative? Well, I drive past the alternative every single day, and most of them are standing on the corner asking for money as cars go by. Now, that's not the lifestyle that I want. But even if you look at them that are asking for money, technically they're still doing a job as well. So it doesn't matter if you're working at a corporation, you own a business, or even if you're homeless. You have to work if you want to get the basic necessities to sustain life. That's what it is. It's not about, oh, I love the corporation and all hail the corporation and you're praying at the altar of the bosses. No, it's just about, bruh, I got to eat. I got to pay bills. I got to do what I got to do to, finance my lifestyle and possibly my dreams and aspirations. These are the things that people have to do.
And I think younger generations resent the corporations.
Why do the younger generations resent the corporations? You know what? You should do a video on that Authentic Talk podcast explaining why you think they resent the corporations. Because my thing is, nobody is forcing people to go work at these corporations. This isn't slavery where they're out here rounding up young people, putting them in chains and tying them to desks and making them click clack on computers or move boxes around. It's like, no, these people voluntarily go there because the corporations have presented an employment opportunity to where you come in, give X amount of hours, and we'll give you X amount of money in exchange for those hours for working. I fail to understand the resentment here, but please make a video talking about that.
This isn't the fault of the boomer. I mean, you guys, or I'll just say Gen X, y'all didn't really have the opportunities that younger people have today. So I kind of get it.
We didn't have the opportunities that younger people have today. So once again, I was born in 1980 at the very tail end of Gen X, the start of the millennial generation. In my 20s is when social media took off. For the most part, the internet, how we use it today in social media. So I've had access to the technology just like you all. The only difference is y'all have had access to it at a much younger age, meaning if you're a Gen Zer, you probably had an iPhone put in your face by the time you were 2 years old, versus when I was 2 years old, I don't know what the hell I was doing. We didn't have iPhones back then. Regardless of all that, we're not some old crusty people who's one step away from going to take a dirt nap to where we can't comprehend how to use the internet and technology. It's been as much of a part of my life, my adult life, instrumental to my adult life, as it's been a part of probably your entire life. That's just how it goes.
I kind of get it. Y'all couldn't make money on the internet 30 years ago. Y'all couldn't be an influencer or start up an OnlyFans like my generation and like Gen Z.
So let me talk about that real quick. So you say we couldn't be an influencer and start up an OnlyFans. That's true. But the way you frame that, you make it sound like all influencers are making money. All OnlyFans are making money. I looked this up the other day because I was interested. How much money does the average OnlyFans person make? So based on my research, I believe there's like 4 million OnlyFans creators out there. And they say out of the 4 million OnlyFans creators, they say the overwhelming majority of creators on OnlyFans, they probably make only about $150 a month if they're lucky. If you go look up all of the YouTubers that make money online, they say the overwhelming majority of YouTubers barely make $100 a month. And I imagine it's the same way with TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or whatever platform that you're trying to monetize. So You're saying that we didn't have the opportunity to be an influencer due to the lack of the technology, which is true. But even though you guys have access to the technology at a much younger age, the majority of you all still aren't making money with the technology. The majority of y'all will probably make more money working at McDonald's, passing Happy Meals through the window than you will becoming a content creator. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation right here. I mean, if we just want to keep it strictly within the confines of YouTube, the majority of YouTubers will never ever get to 10,000 subscribers. So being an influencer is the way you're kind of setting it up as if it's some type of flex, like, haha, look what we can do, and y'all couldn't do it. I give you that so-called flex, being that you had access to this technology at a much younger age. Even though you've had access to it, the majority of y'all still haven't figured out how to use this technology to make money to where you can actually do this as a full-time living. And understand this, when people talk about making money online, being an influencer and things of that nature, everybody has this fantasy that you're making $100,000 a year, getting all these sponsorship deals for $10,000, $5,000. Let me tell you guys something. You can be a full-time YouTuber / influencer making $30,000 a year, because all you need to do is just make enough money to replace your current income. That's it. So if you got a job paying $30,000, and if you can be an influencer and you're making $30,000 off of being an influencer, then technically you could transition into being an influencer. You don't have to make the big gargantuan bucks that Mr. Beast and PewDiePie and all them make, although that would be great. But even with that said, the majority of content creators / influencers from the Gen Z era, they will never make enough money to even consider being a full-time influencer, because the majority of y'all only make about $100 to $150 a month if you're lucky. That's the numbers. And all of y'all want to be influencers, but all of y'all don't have the talent and or skill sets to truly monetize this thing to where you can turn it into a full-time job so that you can escape the corporate plantation.
A lot of y'all had to get it out the mud. You know what I'm saying? A lot of y'all were latchkey kids.
So a lot of us were latchkey kids, which is true. And if you don't know what a latchkey kid is, it's basically when your mother and father went to work and the kids came home after school and you kind of fended for yourself until mommy and daddy came home from work. That was my existence growing up as a child. But I think there are benefits to that, in my opinion, because as a latchkey kid, we came home, dropped our books off, did our homework, and went outside to play so we can socialize and interact with other human beings of our age group, which helped develop our social skills. Like, go look at your neighborhoods now and see how many kids do you see outside riding bikes at the park, shooting hoops, doing this, that, and the third. It's really nowhere near as popping today like it used to be back when I was coming up. Everybody's in the house playing video games, doing whatever they do, looking at OnlyFans and all this other crazy crap. But I think you're lacking in the social skills development, which can ultimately help you out later on in your professional development. Hence the reason why I showed that comment earlier of that guy who left a comment talking about how 22-year-old kids don't have social skills when they go get their first job. And he's like, what a shock. Well, if you went outside and played, you went outside and actually interacted with other human beings, you would have by default developed those social skills to a certain point to where when you become of age 22 years old as a legal, fully functioning adult, you would know how to interact on a basic level when it comes to social skills. Like, once again, the ability to look somebody in the eye when you're talking to them instead of looking down at the ground or avoiding eye contact. The ability to shake somebody's hand when you first meet them and actually put some grip on that thing. The ability to project your voice, not yell and scream, but just talk loud enough so that somebody can hear you.
In a way, I understand. And basically all I'm doing, like, I'm not here to shame on older people. I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm not. Because every generation has its flaws. Every generation has its pluses. Even the boomers. Yeah, I said it. I'm just trying to kind of like mediate and help the generations understand the other's point of view. Because a lot of times there's no communication.
I'm 60 and I agree with him. I don't want to work for anyone but myself. A lot of people say that. So let me ask you something, Selmo. You're 60 years old. How come you haven't figured out how to work for yourself yet? I mean, you don't have to give me all the personal nitty-gritty details, but what you're saying is something that everybody dreams about and wants to do. Like, we all want to hit the lottery, But the reality is working for yourself is actually harder than working for somebody else. That's the thing that nobody ever likes to advertise and talk about. So I'm curious to know at the ripe age of 60, how come you haven't, if you haven't, how come you haven't figured out how to work for yourself?
I think older people are washed up and dumb and don't have wisdom and are out of touch. And then the older people think the younger people are just lazy and entitled and just don't want to work, don't want to do anything. You know, they're just, oh, they want to be spoon fed. And some of the misconceptions might be true, but I do think that there's a conversation that needs to be had between the two generations in order to come to some sort of consensus or some sort of understanding. But back to Gen Z, man. Gen Z has just figured out the juice ain't worth the squeeze. They figured out with a lot of these jobs that they're getting the short end of the stick. And I understand nowadays, you know, you have to work, whether you're working for yourself.
Let me ask you this, Authentic Talk Podcast. You say Gen Z has figured out they're getting the short end of the stick. If that's true, how come Gen Z doesn't appear to be using all of their arty smarts, all of their access to the latest and greatest technology to prevent themselves from getting the short end of the stick? Like, how come that isn't happening in mass right now? I mean, because earlier you said you guys have access to all of the latest, greatest gadgets, the internet, you know, all of the Star Trek next generation technology that we didn't have access to when I was coming up as a kid. How come the overwhelming majority of you haven't figured out how to use this technology to go out there and get your own thing popping so you can avoid getting the short end of the stick? Like, what's the holdup? I mean, aren't y'all supposed to be like the smartest generation ever? I'm just trying to understand, like, it just seems like there's a disconnect here where you have access to all this great stuff that you stated, but some of them are just now figuring out they don't want to get the short end of the stick. It's like you didn't figure this out beforehand, before you turned 18 and had to go find a job or, you know, graduate college and go get a job. Like, how come y'all aren't figuring this stuff out by the time you're like 10 years old? Like, what's going on here? Because let me tell you something. You know what I was doing when I was in elementary school? I used to sell candy bars in elementary. Even when I was a broke college student at Tuskegee University, I used to want to go to the clubs and party and, you know, engage in my nefarious activities on the weekend. And so in order for me to fund those things, I used to go to the store. I used to buy a bunch of snacks because I lived in a dorm with a bunch of dudes who like to get high all the time. And I knew, hey, man, after people get high, they're hungry. So they go down the hall, buy the little weed, smoke it up. Then after they're done smoking, they come knocking on my door because they got the munchies. So I figured this out, and I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't even have an internet connection, but I figured out how to go out there and apply my arty smarts to try to make a little bit of money, which spurred this entrepreneurial mindset in me that I actually started learning earlier on in life, which is currently where I am today as a part-time entrepreneur with my little IT training business. I'm saying all to say, you guys got access to all the information literally in the palm of your hands, and y'all still can't figure out how to avoid the so-called short end of the stick. I mean, why is that? How come your generation or Gen Z can't figure out how to use all this arty smart stuff to drastically accelerate their life? And I'm not talking about just the onesies and twosies. I'm talking about there should be like at least 30-40% of the generation is just killing it in the game to where they don't have to go to the corporate plantation. They don't have to go to college and get these crappy degrees and then start crying about, can the president repay my student debt, or I got to move back in with my mama and daddy because I can't afford rent. Like, y'all should have everything figured out and know how to use these gadgets to get life, to make your life just super wonderful.
You got to do something, especially as a man. Ain't nobody just going, you know, give you, you know, a lifestyle as a grown man. Ain't nobody gonna pay your bills for you. You know, you got to get out there and grind, you know. And Gen Z understands that they're getting the short end of the stick. They're putting in more effort and they're getting little in return. Like, the circumstances are just different nowadays, y'all.
What effort are they putting in more that other generations aren't putting in? Everybody goes to work, does the same damn thing. Y'all get your little paychecks and go home. Everybody still got to deal with the same expensive, inflated prices out there in this economy, and everybody's paychecks aren't moving up that drastically. What are they dealing with that Gen X and the baby boomers and the millennials aren't dealing with? What's different about them? Other than they're younger than us, and most of them are coming into the workforce with less experience and less skills. What are they dealing with? We all started off life working like that. When I could only get a job at the grocery store bagging up groceries or working at McDonald's, that's because I didn't know anything. I didn't have a skill set that warranted me getting paid $75, $100,000+ a year. I didn't know a damn thing. I barely knew how to flip a damn hamburger. I had to go learn how to do that. So what are they being exposed to more that other generations aren't being exposed supposed to? I don't understand this.
They're completely different nowadays. Gone are the days where people could work a simple job, work their 40 hours, come home, drink their little beers, and get watching Live in Color at night or their little box TV. Shout out to Jet X.
The box TV has been replaced with y'all's smartphones. Y'all are watching YouTube and OnlyFans, bro. Y'all are doing the same thing we were doing.
They could be comfortable, but this ain't the 90s, y'all. This ain't the 80s and 90s. Things are just different, man. Things are a lot different. Everything, just the job market is so unstable now. So you got to have a lot of grace on these younger people, man. You really do. And you got to really see it from their point of view.
Why should we have grace on younger people when you stated earlier that younger people have had access to all types of technology and advancements that previous generations didn't have access to? Why should we have grace on them? You've had access to the high-speed internet, a smartphone, and a tablet since forever. You've had access to information literally at the speed of right now. I can remember going to the library as a kid and using the Dewey Decimal System to look up a damn book or to try to find a book in the library. When was the last time you seen kids going to the library? Matter of fact, when is the last time you've actually seen kids carrying textbooks to school? I got a son that just graduated high school and his younger brother's in the 4th grade. They don't even have books. They get issued laptops and tablets from the county. Everything is digitized. They all come to school. They all got smartphones that mommy and daddy is paying for. It seems like y'all actually have it easier, which is a good thing to a certain extent, but I just don't feel like y'all are applying it to its maximum potential other than using it as a constant source for entertainment. So I don't understand why we should have grace when you've been given every single tool imaginable at a relatively affordable price, but you're just not making the most of what you've been given. And now a lot of y'all are coming online, whining and crying and complaining about the job market, about how the corporations are, but you have access to all these tools to where you can go out there and really reshape your life and reality for how you want things to be. You can take your phone and start a whole business off your phone. And not just being an influencer, you literally have the ability to do these things. So I don't understand why grace should be given to a bunch of people that have everything that every other generation wished they could have had. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's because I'm old and crusty. That's why.
Gen Z just understands what they're up against. And my advice to Gen Z, instead of like going to work and quiet quitting, doing the bare minimum or just being, not communicating, instead of doing that, just try to find a way to get the out. Have some sort of game plan, because when you come to work with that attitude and you're not being productive, like, they're going to get rid of your behind anyway.
And so instead of them quiet quitting, they should just quit or have a game plan. Now, look, I agree with you there. A lot of people aren't prepared, man. That's why they end up working at a job till they're old as hell for a whole variety of reasons. So it's easy to say these things. Oh, you shouldn't silent quit or quietly quit. You should just put a plan together. Most people don't plan for bruh. They don't make plans. They just live life day by day, not thinking about what's going to happen next week or 2 months, 3 months down the line. It takes basic discipline just to plan what you're going to do tomorrow. And most people just don't have it in them. Doesn't matter what generation you're a part of.
Because, they're already doing it. Like, a lot of these Gen Zs are working 2-3 months on a job, and then their big boss get them up out of there. Because a lot of them are quiet quitting. It's just like, forget quiet quitting. Just leave. Just leave. Just quit.
Leave and quit and do what? Like, how is just leaving and quitting going to help them? Now, look, if you don't want to work at a place because you feel it's bad for your health, mental health, all that, whatever reason, that's fine and dandy. But I guess I'm really asking you, how does your advice actually help? What are they supposed to do when they leave and quit? Like, what's the next step? Especially if they're not under the care and protection of mommy and daddy. What are they supposed to do? What they're more than likely going to do is go find another job. They're going to go find another job. Very few of them are going to pick up their phone and become a highly successful social media influencer where they're making tens of thousands of dollars a month. More than likely, you're just going to go get another job and they'll be whining and crying over there. So I don't know if that's a real solid piece of advice. If you want them to quit, or if you're advising them to quit, even if they're only working at this company 2 to 3 months, maybe you should tell them, man, save up all your paychecks, start writing down a business plan, start writing down a professional development plan for what you think you might want to do as you get ready to get up out of here. I just don't know how telling people to just quit and not giving them some type of solution as to what they should, or guidance as to what they should possibly do next, when in reality, they're going to go get another job and be right back on the corporate plantation that you're telling them to quit.
When you do quit, have some sort of backup plan, have some sort of game plan. Know what your next move is going to be. Start preparing, start planning, start researching, figure out what you can do to make more income.
Once again, how come they haven't figured this out before? You told us earlier in the video they got access to all this wonderful technology. How come this generation hasn't figured out how to use that technology to plan for all this stuff so that they don't have to just quietly quit or just up and quit? Like they should already have all these plans laid out on spreadsheets, Google documents, whiteboards, somewhere. All this stuff should be in place already because they have access to all the damn information in the world in the palm of their hands. How come they're not utilizing that? I guess that's really where I'm struggling to comprehend this. They got all this technology and all this knowledge, but they can't figure out how to use it to plan for these types of events when they know that they hate the corporate work structure and they're going to quit and do all this crap. Why didn't you have all this stuff planned beforehand? You could have wrote this down in the damn notes app on your phone.
Figure out a way to make more income, passive income, start investing, start you a side hustle. Just find something to do. Find something else to do. Like, I don't have all the answers.
You're supposed to have all the answers, bro. You're an influencer. I saw your video. You got a video talking about how you want to be YouTube rich. You want to just be a full-time YouTube creator. I watched the video. You was telling us about how you're a highly creative person. Like I said, this ain't no beef. Me and this guy have known each other through YouTube for like 5-6 years. So this ain't no beef or no drama. But the whole point is you're an influencer. You got like 2 monetized channels. You should have those answers, bruh. People listen to you. They tune in to hear your rants about whatever you're talking about. You should be able to come up with these answers to that young 20-something-year-old person who's thinking about quitting their job and they trying to figure out their next move. They're coming to you for that guidance, man. Use this platform to help mold their minds, bruh. At least that's what I think you should do, but you don't have to do that. But
be an expert. But I'm just telling you that the path of working this dead-end job that you hate, or it might not be a dead-end job. It might be a great job. But if you're miserable, then it might as well be a dead-end job. But just doing that, coming to work and just giving the bare minimum and hating your job and being toxic, it's going to end eventually. So you might as well cut the umbilical cord and just exit stage left. But anywho, let me know what y'all think. I go by Authentic Talk Podcast. Like, share, sub. I'm gone. Peace.